Infanta Sofia's spontaneous charm. She stands beneath the open sky, posture composed, expression unguarded. Not posed, not corrected. A quiet presence moving easily within a structure that has endured centuries. Cameras are present, protocol is precise, yet something escapes the frame. A smile arrives before instruction. A laugh appears without permission. And in that instant, the institution reveals a different kind of strength. This is Infanta Sofía, not as an accessory to ceremony, but as a living signal of continuity. Not rehearsed, not announced, simply visible. For Infanta Sofía, charm is not rehearsed. It emerges in quiet smiles, spontaneous laughter, and moments no protocol can command, reminding the world that authenticity is the most enduring form of royalty. The Spanish monarchy does not survive on spectacle alone. It survives on rhythm, on repetition, on the careful balance between distance and recognition. Every appearance is calibrated, every gesture weighed against history. And yet, institutions do not endure by stiffness. They endure by adaptation, by allowing humanity to appear without weakening authority. This is the living thread of continuity. Spain has learned, sometimes painfully, that public trust is fragile. It is not guaranteed by crowns or constitutions. It is earned through visible stability. Through figures who appear credible not because they perform power, but because they seem at ease carrying it. Infanta Sofía occupies that space quietly. She does not claim attention. Attention finds her. By the second minute, a question settles in. If her presence feels effortless, is that an accident, or a strategy no one admits aloud? Because effortlessness, inside an institution built on discipline, is never random. From Washington, analysts read these moments not as personality, but as optics. The United States measures allies by resilience. By whether institutions can renew themselves without rupture. A young royal who appears natural within formality suggests something important, that the system is not cracking under its own weight. In London, where monarchy is both mirror and warning, the interpretation is sharper. British observers understand that public affection cannot be commanded. It must be invited, and when it arrives unforced, it is more powerful than ceremony. Canada and Australia watch with a quieter lens. They know distance from the crown does not mean indifference to symbolism. A monarchy that appears human without appearing casual signals longevity. It suggests relevance without demand. Germany, historically wary of inherited authority, focuses on restraint, on whether presence overwhelms policy. In Sofia's case, the conclusion is subtle: she does not dominate the frame. She stabilizes it. The phrase returns not as description, but as implication. Glow suggests reflection, not projection. Light received, not imposed. Behind the scenes, the structure remains uncompromising. Education schedules are fixed. Appearances are reviewed. Silence is enforced where noise would be easier. There are moments not filmed. Corrections not acknowledged. A life shaped by limits long before choice becomes possible. And yet, something unresolved lingers. What happens when spontaneity becomes expectation? When the public begins to look for the smile, the laugh, the ease, and interprets their absence as failure. This is the deeper mystery, carefully unspoken. Authenticity cannot be scheduled, and institutions that rely on it risk misunderstanding its nature. Continuity is not abstract here, it is embodied in visible presence. But presence carries weight. Every unscripted moment adds to a narrative no one fully controls. By the midpoint, the tone shifts almost imperceptibly. Spain is not static. Political tensions surface and recede. Regional identities assert themselves. The monarchy remains, not by force, but by consent renewed daily. In such an environment, symbols matter more than declarations. A younger generation does not respond to distance alone. It responds to credibility, to figures who seem real without being ordinary. Infanta Sofía's spontaneous charm becomes, unexpectedly, a point of institutional leverage. But leverage can strain. The point of no return is not marked by scandal or speech. It arrives quietly, when an institution realizes that its future credibility may depend on qualities it cannot manufacture. When the human element becomes central rather than supplemental. From abroad, this is read as both strength and vulnerability. A strength because it reconnects the crown to the public. A vulnerability because it exposes the institution to moods, interpretations, and generational shifts beyond its control. National identity is woven into these rituals. Every public appearance is a reaffirmation that Spain's story continues, not frozen in the past, not severed from the present. Infanta Sofía does not carry the crown, but she carries something adjacent to it, the sense that the future is not hostile to tradition. By minute 19, a quieter threat emerges. Not political upheaval, but symbolic erosion. What if authenticity becomes politicized? What if naturalness is demanded, critiqued, ranked? The institution must protect what it cannot replace. And so the balance tightens. Visibility without overexposure. Warmth without informality. Presence without performance. Spoken one last time, it no longer sounds descriptive. It sounds conditional. A quality that exists only if allowed to remain unforced. The story does not close. It pauses. On a young figure moving through ceremony with ease, while the institution watches itself reflected in her composure. History has not decided what this means yet. It is still observing, still waiting. The calm is deliberate, but it is not effortless. Every institution learns this eventually. What appears natural on the surface is often the result of restraint beneath it. In the case of Infanta Sofía, that restraint is invisible by design. She enters public space without claiming it. That, too, is a discipline. The Spanish monarchy has learned that authority no longer announces itself. It signals, softly, through figures who seem to belong to the moment rather than dominate it. There is a reason her presence is measured so carefully. Not because she is fragile, but because symbols age faster than systems. An institution can survive criticism. It cannot survive irrelevance. This is where continuity tightens its grip. Behind closed doors, the question is never about popularity. It is about durability. Whether the next generation can carry national meaning without forcing it. Whether composure can coexist with openness. Whether warmth weakens structure, or quietly reinforces it. This is the first misunderstanding the public often carries. That charm is accidental. In truth, what appears spontaneous is protected space. Space where a human moment is allowed to surface without being exploited. And yet, the risk remains. Because once the world notices ease, it begins to expect it. Once authenticity is seen, it is tested, interpreted, sometimes demanded. This is where institutional patience matters most. From abroad, these moments are read with practiced caution. In the United States, they are filtered through the lens of soft power. Stability that does not need to declare itself is considered credible. A monarchy that adapts without spectacle is seen as a partner that understands modern legitimacy. In the United Kingdom, observers recognize the warning signs as clearly as the promise. They know how quickly warmth can be mistaken for access. How easily affection can turn into scrutiny. The lesson is familiar. Once the public feels invited, it watches more closely. Canada and Australia view the signal differently. Distance sharpens perspective. They are less concerned with personality, more with whether the institution still knows when to speak, and when not to. Sophia's presence suggests restraint, not retreat. That matters. Germany remains focused on form. On whether visibility respects boundaries. Here, the reading is precise. Her demeanor does not challenge the institution. It shields it. Still, a silence grows around one unspoken truth. Spontaneity cannot be institutionalized. The moment it is managed too tightly, it disappears. The moment it is left unguarded, it can destabilize. This tension is not a flaw. It is the condition of survival. Continuity is not preserved by freezing time. It is preserved by allowing controlled change. By recognizing that national identity breathes through people, not proclamations. And so the second act unfolds quietly. Not with declarations, but with calibration. With a careful watching of how much humanity the institution can reveal without losing its shape. Nothing breaks. Nothing resolves. But the balance has shifted. By now, the institution understands what is at stake. Not image, but rhythm. Not affection, but endurance. Because once continuity is felt rather than announced, it becomes harder to control. For Infanta Sofía, visibility has matured into signal. Each appearance is no longer a moment. It is a measure of how Spain reads itself. Of how the monarchy is allowed to breathe within modern expectation. This is where silence becomes policy. There are gestures that never reach the public record. Decisions to step back rather than forward. To allow presence without saturation. The institution is not withdrawing her. It is spacing her, protecting the very quality that gives her relevance. Because spontaneity, once overused, becomes performance. This is the deeper strain few acknowledge openly. An institution built to last centuries cannot depend on immediacy. It must translate warmth into stability, not spectacle. It must ensure that what feels personal does not become political. Across the Atlantic, this restraint is noticed. In the United States, credibility is associated with systems that self-regulate. A monarchy that limits exposure appears self-aware. That restraint reads as maturity. In the United Kingdom, the message is unmistakable. Familiar. The crown survives not by appearing everywhere, but by appearing when it matters. Observers recognize the discipline of absence as much as the power of presence. Canada and Australia interpret the spacing as intentional continuity, a signal that the institution is not rushing its future, that it understands generational pacing, that it is preparing without advertising preparation. Germany sees confirmation. The form holds. The boundary remains intact. Visibility has not dissolved into informality. And yet, beneath this composure, something unresolved persists. The public has now seen what unforced royalty looks like. It cannot be unseen. Expectations shift quietly, without announcement. This is the subtle crisis forming. Not a break with tradition, but a recalibration of it. The realization that authority in the future may depend less on distance, and more on credibility earned through restraint. Continuity is not abstract here, it is embodied in visible presence. But presence must now be measured against longevity, not immediacy. The institution moves carefully, aware that every adjustment becomes precedent. That every pause teaches the public how to read the crown. Nothing is declared, no line is crossed, but the margin for error has narrowed. What remains, in the end, is not a moment but a direction. The institution does not close ranks. It holds its line, quietly, because survival at this level is never about applause. It is about whether the structure can move forward without announcing that it is moving at all. For Infanta Sofía, the significance has never been positional. It is symbolic. She represents a future that does not reject formality, yet does not hide behind it. A future where continuity is felt before it is explained. Spoken now, it carries weight. Not as a promise, but as a condition. Something that exists only as long as it is not overused. Not demanded. Not converted into expectation. From abroad, the final reading settles into place. In the United States, this restraint reinforces confidence. Institutions that know when to hold back are seen as durable. In the United Kingdom, the signal is unmistakable. Longevity depends on discipline more than visibility. Canada and Australia read steadiness, not drift. Germany sees confirmation that form still governs substance. No one declares victory. No one announces resolution. Because this story is not about arrival. It is about pacing. About whether the monarchy can allow humanity to remain visible without becoming central. About whether authenticity can coexist with distance in an age that distrusts both excess and silence. Continuity is not abstract here, it is embodied in visible presence. But presence, now, must answer to time. The figure moves forward. The institution watches carefully. History does not interrupt, it observes. And what comes next remains undecided.